Yo, guys, here we go. Episode 18. 18 of Football Talk with Hawk. You guys need to raise up a little bit here. There we go. There we go. All right, it is an absolutely gorgeous day outside. I got my Indianapolis Colts cut off hoodie, a little bit chillier this morning, but no need for a long sleeve shirt. Just throw on the sleeveless hoodie and rock and roll. But dang it, guys, it's going to be an absolutely great week. Last night, the Cincinnati Bengal Miami Dolphin game. Let's dive into it right away. Don't have any schedule laid out for today. Kind of just want to talk through a couple things today, a little bit different. I do have the key matchups for this week. And then obviously tomorrow morning we'll have the pick video. Like I said, sorry about last week. I know this week's been a little bit interesting. I have been drained from work, guys. I've just been tired. The nights have been really good. The weather's been fantastic. I've just been really tired with how some of the nights have been at work, running overnight. So hopefully we can rock and roll. I know I got a couple videos next week that I really want to get done because I am giving my final standings predictions, updating the ones that I had preseason after everybody comes off the IR here that is eligible after week 4, and looking at the projection for the rest of the year. But let's dive into last night's game. So Cincinnati pulls it out. The result was kind of expected. Honestly, Miami is no longer undefeated. They should have lost last week. Buffalo beat themselves. I want to stay away from all the stuff with Tua. I want to stay away with everything that happened with, for those who may not know, their Miami Dolphin quarterback Tua Tagovailoa got sacked. And his elbow, his head hit the ground, and his body seized up, and he was taken to the hospital. He was released. He flew back with the team last night. No more info is out, so that is why I'm not going to talk about that too much. Let's talk about the game. So the first thing about the game is this. Cincinnati's offensive line is getting better and better. In the first game, they allowed 6 sacks. In the second game, they allowed 5 sacks. In the third game, they allowed 2 sacks. And last night, they allowed 1. Actually, I don't even know if it ended up being recorded as a sack, but they allowed 1. That is improvement. That goes to what I've been talking about for this entire time of how good football is coming. It's just taking a while. You will see this week, I believe you will see this week, the separation finally take place between the good teams, the bad teams, and you will see how many teams are sitting in the middle. The Bengals had a couple big plays late. I think the defense was tired after that long game against Buffalo. It was a hard-fought game. They got tired late. Cincinnati didn't get a bunch of big plays till later. But it was great football because it was hard-fought defense. Defense got gassed, then let up the big plays. The offense took advantage. It was football the way football should be. Cincinnati cannot run the ball still. That is a major issue. This looks a lot like some of the Indianapolis Colts teams with in the later years with Manning, where you've got a quarterback and receivers that can beat anybody, a defense that has a problem on the back end, the front four pretty good off, an offensive line that is good. They're getting there. They just had to mesh, but they've got good players on the offensive line. And you've got a running game, though, that is really stagnant in the first 4 games of this year. It's not good. Especially if they want to win that division with the Browns, the Steelers, and the Ravens, you got to be able to run the ball. Got to be able to run the ball. So based off of that, here's what I'm really thinking is going to happen when it comes down to it, is the Bengals are going to improve. They're going to start picking up steam. You're not going to throw well over the top. They've lost all their games in overtime. Both of their losses were in overtime. So, they didn't get beat. They've been right there on the cusp. last night, Thursday Night Football, at home, pull out a big win, 27-15. That was big. That was huge for them. It was big for their defense. Their defense didn't let up a ton of huge plays. Bridgewater had a beautiful throw to Tyreek Hill. But overall, Cincinnati looked good. Miami, I still love their defense. Their defense is dang good. Week number 5, pick Miami because their defense is going to have the extra rest. They're going to have the extra preparation. Week 5, pick Miami. And you're probably going to want Miami's defense in fantasy because they're going to be ready to play. 100% ready to play. I like Miami. I like how they're built. They're definitely in the wild card right now. You'll see next week in the standings. As of right now, I'd put them in 5th. Minimum, at the very least, 6th place in the AFC. I think they're that good. I think the defense is better. We got to wait on what happens with Tua, and I understand that. I don't want to open up that can of worms. Don't want to get into that right now. Not enough is known. Not enough has been released. So we're going to leave that alone. All right, let's get into the matchups this week. Because dang it, do we have some good ones. For all those in Jacksonville, congratulations, you made a key matchup page. And the reason I say this is a key matchup for Jacksonville is really simply this. What does it look like for Jacksonville to say this week was successful? Do they need to win to say that this was a successful week? No. Philadelphia's home. Jacksonville is still a young team on the road. If it is within 7 points and they play hard and they play close and the Eagles are not able to rest and kind of take the foot off the gas pedal and they are competitive for 4 quarters and lose it in the final 3 or 4 minutes by a touchdown with Jalen Hurts, probably to A.J. Brown. Yes, Jacksonville, that is a win for you. You are 1 year removed from being the worst team in the NFL. Think about this. You've matched your win total from last year. You are 1 year removed from being the worst team in the NFL. Okay? You are currently first place in your division. You annihilated the Colts at home with a defensive effort that was amazing. I think this game could be close. I think it could be 27-23 Philadelphia. I would not want to bet this game. If I was going to bet, I'd actually bet Jacksonville. I'd bet the under. And I like how this is built. I think the defense for Philadelphia is solid, but I don't know if they can outdo Doug Peterson's schemes. Doug Peterson is doing some great play calling in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence is being smart with the football. He's being a number 1 pick like he should be. This team almost looks like an Indianapolis Colts type turnaround. Peyton Manning got drafted. We went 3-13. The next year we drafted Edgerrin James. We went 13-3. This team looks like they could go from 3-14 to potentially going 12-5. I think 13-4 may be a little high. But doggone it, where's the weakness on this team? They just throttled. Like they should have won week 1. They should be undefeated right now. They throttled the Colts. They go into Los Angeles, whether Herbert is hurt or not. They go into Los Angeles and beat up on that Charger team so immensely after the Chargers are off for 10 days. Because they played on Thursday Night Football the week before. They had extra rest. And the Jaguars go in and annihilate them. Blow them out of the water. This Jacksonville team is scary. And I hate saying this as a Colts fan. They may win the division and everybody else is screwed. Like that is the toughest opponent in this division right now. That team is tough. It is scary. It is young. It is fast. They are scrappy. You don't want to play them. I don't think if Philadelphia sleeps on Jacksonville, Jacksonville will go in. You'll have no more undefeated teams after week 4 in the NFL. And Jacksonville will be sitting at 3-1. Potentially one of the top 3 teams in the AFC. Who would have thunk it? There you go. That's it. All right, next game. This game's going to be 65-61. Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are going to both try to stake their claim on the early MVP voting. I am loving this. Even against Miami. Allen, 400 yards. The Buffalo Bills beat themselves. I think McDermott is going to have such a strong week in practice. They're going on the road for the second straight week. I actually think this is where Buffalo shows why they're the best team in the AFC. I think they go into Buffalo more than likely and beat up on the Ravens. I think Von Miller makes a big difference. Remember, Baltimore lost to Miami, but they let Miami back in the game. You're not going to let Buffalo back in the game. Buffalo is going to be in the game. And I don't know if the back end of Baltimore can hold up. Stephon Diggs could be exactly like Tyreek Hill. Stephon Diggs could just eat up the secondary. Gabriel Davis could eat the secondary. We'll look out for Devin Singletary and James Cook to be big out of the backfield receiving-wise. Zach Moss. I mean, guys, this could be a really high-scoring game. I'd play almost anybody you have on the rosters in fantasy. This is going to be a fun game to watch. I cannot wait for it. It's going to be awesome. I hope Buffalo pulls it out because it's my Super Bowl pick. But either way, it's going to be a fantastic freaking game. All right. I know some of you are saying this is a homer pick to be able to have the Titans versus Colts be a key matchup this week. How is it a key matchup? You got one team that's really not doing good. You got another team that got lucky last week and beat the Kansas City Chiefs. You're right. And that's why it's an important game, because both teams got a win last week. Both teams are no longer winless as of last week. The Titans hang on against the Raiders, could have lost it. And the Colts basically hung on against the Chiefs, hung around enough to be able to get the victory. This week is huge. The Colts, more for the Colts than the Titans. I think Tennessee is starting to realize they just don't have a team that can compete at all, whether offensively or defensively. This game is huge for the Colts. Back-to-back weeks at home. They need to come out and they need to punch the Titans in the mouth. They need to control the game. They need to win this game 27-10. That's what the Colts need to do. Shaq Leonard is now questionable, not out. I think after all the videos last week, see, this is what social media now creates. And this is what having all those cameras and everybody having a camera on their phone can create. Shaq Leonard last week was jumping up and down, his feet were doing a bunch of different moves. If he had a leg injury, he should not have been doing any of the celebrating he was doing last week. We need to be honest. Yes, I know it's not the same as running in and tackling somebody or the force or the pounding of the hits. But if you've got a leg injury, don't be jumping up and down, potentially twisting, rolling ankles, doing this, doing that. Everybody saw that. Everybody saw Shaq Leonard moving really well for somebody who's got an injury. I don't doubt that he's injured. What I'm saying is, this is the NFL. We are a horrible defense without him. Our defense did not beat the Chiefs. Our front four beat the Chiefs. Our back end, the cover three threw Patrick Mahomes off. Remember, the cover three threw Manning off. It threw Rodgers off. It's thrown a lot of quarterbacks off. When it's played correctly, the cover three style defense that Gus Bradley runs as defensive coordinator throws quarterbacks off. They played it right last week. Tennessee doesn't have any weapons. We need Leonard there. Because we need the guys that are going to be able to go in. We need Okereke. We need Zaire Franklin. We need Shaq Leonard to be the linebackers that can hit the gaps, stop Derrick Henry, force Ryan Tannehill to beat us, because he can't. He will not be able to beat us. That's what the Colts need to do. I'm not necessarily watching it because it's a huge marquee game, but both these teams getting another win, keeping pace with the Jacksonville Jaguars, would be absolutely huge for them. So that's why this game, outside of the fact that I'm a Colts fan, is on here, but reality-wise, it's a big game for both teams. All right, these next three on this side, everybody's going to be watching. This is your afternoon game on Sunday. Broncos at the Raiders. The Raiders need to win. The Broncos losing this isn't horrible, but the Raiders losing this would put them in such a basement situation in the AFC West. It would be horrible for them. This is a game. Las Vegas is home. They got to win. They got to show it's worth it. They should have won last week. They should have beat the Cardinals. Week 1 against the Chargers, division opponent. They have lost so many close games. They need to win and beat the Broncos. Broncos, I don't trust their head coach yet. I told J-Dog this week. I told J-Dog that Nathaniel Hackett needs to do what Kyle Shanahan did in San Francisco. He needs to hire his dad as a senior assistant analyst and have his dad help him learn what it takes in the NFL. One of the best things Kyle Shanahan did was hired his dad, Mike Shanahan, who had won 2 Super Bowls, had success and lows with the Denver Broncos, and also coached with the Washington Commanders. Let's just keep the show the way it can be. He had the wisdom to make a move like that because he knew as a head coach, there are a lot more responsibilities than a coordinator. And he was young and he knew what it took because he watched his dad, but he wasn't aware of how much it took because until you're in that position, you don't understand. Nathaniel Hackett's in the same situation. He needs to hire his dad as a senior specialist analyst to help him get into the mold of an NFL coach. I think they're going to be fine. Let me be very clear. The expectations for the Broncos with the way the roster was are accurate. The roster, take out the coach, the roster should make the playoffs in the AFC. Hands down. But because of the new coach, it's throwing a hiccup in this. And like I said in the recap video, Russell Wilson doesn't look like Russell Wilson because Nathaniel Hackett's doing a lot of stuff you don't want to do as a coach. He's restricting what the quarterback is. Yeah, we don't want Russell Wilson taking hits, but if he doesn't play the way Russell Wilson plays, I mean, come on. I will say this again. You would never would have told Michael Vick, hey, we don't want you to use your legs at all. Just stay in the pocket. Get the ball out. Just use the pocket. You never would have told him that. Russell Wilson's intuition, his awareness is what makes him special. You need to completely release him. He is your professional quarterback. He's been doing this in this league longer than you have. And I think sometimes as head coaches, they get a little intimidated. They got to get their system. They got to get their stuff in. They got to get the way they want everything there and be able to be, this is the way I wanted things done, so we're going to do it this way. Instead of realizing, especially for a guy like Nathaniel Hackett, you're the rookie here, dude. Russell Wilson has more experience calling plays, running an offense than you do. And you need to lean into your star quarterback that you're paying a ton of money to and tell him, this is what my idea is for the offense. This is what I want the offense to look like. This is what I want you to be able to work in. Tell me how we're going to make it work. That's what he's got to do with Russell Wilson. Period. The Broncos got to get the running game going this week. I'm afraid Chandler Jones may have Russell Wilson under a bunch of pressure this weekend. I'm really concerned about that. The Raiders, Broncos, key game to watch. I have no clue who's going to win. It's in Vegas, but it's a stadium. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Looking forward to watching that game, though. All right, Sunday Night Football. Hopefully it is not like last week. This needs to be a good game. I'm afraid it won't be, but at the same time, Kansas City, they got to bounce back. Special teams really, really screwed them over against the Colts. If that doesn't happen, I know it's going to be wet because of the hurricane. That goes in the Buccaneers' favor. it could be a sloppy game. It could be the second Sunday Night Football game in a row that is absolutely ugly. Just ugly. It's going to be wet. The weather doesn't look good at all. Yeah, honestly, this game could be 17-14. It could be 17-10. It could be all field goals. It could be 15-12. But it's a big game. It's an important game. Tampa Bay, coming off that loss to Green Bay, where they should have. Their defensive line played great in the second half. Their offense just never got going. I love the defensive line for the Buccaneers. I think the Bucs can copy the Colts blueprint defensively and beat the Chiefs. I just don't know how it's going to look. The weather's going to play a huge factor. If Mahomes can't throw the deep ball, that's going to change everything. Because I don't think Kelce having to play within only 10 yards is going to be good for a defense like the Buccaneers. I think that plays into their strengths. Lavonte David can play against Kelce pretty well. So I don't know how it's going to look. Weather's going to be ugly. Honestly, that's all I've got on that game because the weather, I think, is going to play such a factor potentially that the game, you're going to watch the game on Sunday Night Football. It could be ugly or it could be an amazing game. Excited to watch it either way. All right, Rams, Niners, Monday Night Football. Here we go. This game is huge. Why is this game huge? San Francisco needs to win it. San Francisco needs to win this game. Why do they need to win this game? Simple. You go down to the Rams in this division, you're not catching back up. The Cardinals look like they're absolutely in trouble. This is when they're normally good, and they're bad right now. So if you're the 49ers, you need to stake your claim on the number 5 wild card spot. Right now, it looks like Green Bay's got it. I still don't believe in Green Bay. Sorry, I don't believe in Green Bay. Their offense doesn't look good. Their quarterback doesn't trust the receivers. And I think any defense that gets pressure on Rodgers is going to have a dink and dunk play call against them constantly. The offense isn't explosive enough. They still don't score enough points. Okay. The 49ers need to win this game at home, Monday Night Football. But the Rams, I think, are hungry. And I believe just after last week, I think they've gotten everything realized. Division games, we got to win them. They're focused. It's going to be a gorgeous night. Honestly, San Francisco needs to come out. They need to come out strong. They need to come out ready, and they need to be ready to play a hard-fought game, and I just don't know if they're physical enough to get the Rams off. That's what's been the blueprint in the past, is being physical, getting more physical than the Rams, beating them up. I don't see the physicality in this 49er team. I didn't see it last week against Denver. I just haven't seen it all year. I don't see the physicality right now. And they have a potential to go 1-3. And I did not expect that to start the year. But doggone it, it's what it looks like. It's what it looks like. So there's your 6 matchups this week, guys. Obviously, we'll have the picks in the video tomorrow morning. And we'll have kind of some other stuff going on. So here's what I want to do. So I wanted to look at, I want to talk some college. I love football, period. So let's talk some college here, because this weekend we got some amazing games that are going to be played, starting with tonight, actually. Washington at UCLA. UCLA is undefeated still. Not really getting a bunch of credit, but tonight in the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. And I don't know how this is going to work once they move to the Big Ten. UCLA is talking about building a stadium on campus, which we'll get into in a second. Northwestern has. They're going to build a stadium that's actually a smaller capacity than what they currently have, but more friendly for what can be done at the school, and that is key. And we'll get into that in a second. But tonight, number 15 Washington at a unranked but undefeated team in UCLA. Then tomorrow, Guys, tomorrow I got football to watch. Oh, man, do I have football to watch. At noon, Michigan at Iowa. I know. Iowa hasn't scored many points this year. I get it. That is where teams go to die. You never want to go play in Iowa. Iowa is tough. They are constantly there. They are constantly a royal pain in your butt if you're a top 15 team. That game should, I hope, will be a great game. It has potential for Michigan to blow them out, but I hope it's a great game. That game is on Fox. Kentucky at Ole Miss. I love Kentucky. I picked them to beat Florida. I've picked them to win to this point. And that game against Ole Miss in Mississippi on the road is a huge game for Kentucky, more than Ole Miss. Ole Miss is home. Kentucky can make a huge, huge statement on the road, going into Oxford, beating up on the Rebels. I'm expecting a great game. We're looking at probably a 30-27, 28-23, a game like that where it's going to be a touchdown that's got to win it, not just a field goal. But I'm looking forward to that game. And then we got Oklahoma at TCU, also at noon. Purdue at Minnesota. Minnesota undefeated, ranked finally. Minnesota is a force to be reckoned with. Those Golden Gophers. Texas Tech at Kansas State. Texas Tech just beat Texas. Kansas State just beat Oklahoma. So which team's got the higher high? Which team's going to have the bigger lull? That's really what it comes down to. Moving down, Navy versus Air Force. Love Navy. You guys know this if you watch the opening videos. I love watching the military games, the military academy games. Air Force at home against Navy. That should be a good game out in Colorado. Oregon State at Utah. Then we got Oklahoma State at Baylor. This is a huge game and a potential Big 12 championship showdown early in the year. Number 9 Oklahoma State, number 16 Baylor. Should be a great game to watch. Then we got Wake Forest at Florida State. There is something about Florida State. So there are a few colleges that they don't necessarily have to be at the upper echelon of everything. They don't have to be at the top. But I believe there are a few colleges in college football that college football is better just when they're relevant. Not that they have to be great, but when they're relevant, college football is better. Here are I got 4 teams, just 4. Here are the 4 teams: Florida State, Penn State, Utah, and then SEC. I know it sounds odd, but the SEC, LSU. When those teams are relevant, not that they're up at the top, but when they're relevant, college football has matchups in zones that matter. Penn State doesn't need to go undefeated to be a team that nobody wants to play. They could go 10-2 every year, and nobody would complain on the outside of Penn State. Penn State may complain. Nobody on the outside does. Because them being relevant, because of their history. I understand everything that happened, but they have a storied coach in Joe Paterno. And Florida State had Bobby Bowden. I know everything that's happened, but they were storied programs. Part of the history, part of the foundation of college football through the new millennium. Important teams. LSU keeps the SEC West very relevant because they have that other aspect, that other brand there in Louisiana that is important for the Southeast. Technically Southwest, but nonetheless for the South. And they are better. The SEC matchups are more intriguing when they're good enough to beat everybody. They may not, but the matchups are great. And then Utah. I know what you're thinking. Why Utah? Because Utah has been a school for a long time that the upper Northwest can be very proud of. Between Utah and Boise State, you could probably interchange them. But with Utah actually being in a Power 5 conference, they matter a lot. Them being good gives the Northwest and gives the recruiting in the Northwest something to look at, watch, and follow. Because Washington's really not good. California's California. You have nothing really in the Dakotas until you get over to Minnesota. So the reality is Utah being good helps that demographic area. They don't have to be 12-0, but going 10-2, beating some teams, losing to a couple, playing tough is good for college football. And those teams are needed to just be relevant. So, back to the schedule. Wake Forest, coming off that heartbreaking loss to Clemson, goes to Florida State, and I'm all in. I hope Florida State wins today or wins tomorrow. Home, ABC, televised game. Looking forward to it. All right, the big games of the night. Not really many. Honestly, only two that I really am kind of intrigued with. Number one, NC State at Clemson. The Rock. I hope they bring out the purple and orange jerseys for Clemson. NC State's going to be ready, probably with their white and reds. And the Wolfpack is going to try to devour the Tigers. That should be an awesome game. I love NC State's defense. I love their toughness. I love how they play. Watching them play is just fun. They're athletic. They got a lot of electricity on the defensive side of the ball. Cannot wait for that game tomorrow night, 7:30 on ABC. And then the game late night. Now, I mean, you're going to watch this. It's a game that starts at night. Stanford at Oregon. Why is this game big? Oregon needs to win. Oregon needs to win. Stanford played USC close. Oregon needs to beat Stanford and needs to beat them handily. Stanford is the team you don't want to have hang around at all. At all. So, with that being said, Oregon's got to beat Stanford. You cannot screw up against Stanford. Really, it's just what it comes down to. No lie. Just going to be what it comes down to. So there's the college football. There's college football. And then let's close it. Let's close it out with this. Let's talk about. So there's been issues in the NFL with injuries, and not as much in college. So I'm going to compare these two because it matters. Okay. In college football, you do not have a plethora of ACL or MCL injuries or Achilles injuries, period. Okay. In the NFL, out of 32 teams, each week there will be at least two players that seemingly have an ACL or MCL injury. The big topic this week, this is a closing thought for this video. The big topic this week has been getting rid of turf and going back to grass. I think it's something the NFL needs to be proactive in. The turf has caused career-shortening injuries of players that are amazing. They have caused a lot of issues with offensive linemen. Andrew Whitworth retired this year. Okay. He came out after Monday morning with Pat McAfee's video and said, If we were playing on all grass everywhere, he would have been able to play till he was 50. He's still in great physical shape. But the turf at the new Rams SoFi Stadium, playing on that 9 games a year, plus whenever you're on the road at a team that has turf, is so rough on your joints and your body that it's taking guys out. Tom Brady can play forever as a quarterback. He doesn't run. He's not moving around a ton. But I guarantee you, if he were to have a non-contact injury like many of these players have had that have just been jogging down the field on turf, and if he said turf needs to be getting rid of, they would do it. NFL, you cannot wait for that. You just can't do it. You cannot wait for one of your greatest players to say you need to move. You need to make the move now. Turf needs to be out of all places by 2024. Next year, give them next year. Give them next year to try to play with different grass combinations. Arizona, I probably should have. So if you want to make fun of me for not knowing, fine. I did not realize the Arizona Cardinals field in Glendale, Arizona, in their dome, is grass. They pull it out from underneath the stadium. It's on tracks. They pull it out from underneath the stadium. It gets the desert sun, and then they pull it in and have a system, a second level that comes straight over the top and covers the grass and is a sprinkler system like you see in the cornfields and the bean fields. Those big things, but it's all set up through PVC pipe or whatever it may be through another level floor that comes over the top of the grass and waters it perfectly. It looks better than swear, I'm no kidding. It's the best grass in the entire NFL. It's the best looking field. Players love playing in Arizona. Like, it is the best looking football field, even with all the turf. Every NFL team needs to figure out how to do this. If you're indoors, I'm going to say this straight up. If you have a dome, you should be able to figure out how to have a level or something that comes up and out and covers your football field to water your indoor stadium field. Period. Outdoor, you got to be able to do something. The Bears are building the new stadium. It's colder up there, I understand. The desert's hot sun. Give me a break. The Chicago Bears need to copy what Arizona did more than what Las Vegas and the Rams did. You want to have a dome? Yes. But you need to make it grass. You need to make it grass. You need to make that field be able to move. You need to make it able for the players to play better. I'm tired of injuries at the receiver position. Sterling Shepard on Monday Night Football wasn't even touched. He was slowing down from a route. Like, he wasn't even doing anything. Pulls his ACL because the turf is so hard and it sticks. It sticks. Your feet stick. So they pop up kind of like a sticky floor in the kitchen. You're pulling up and you can feel it. It's not good and it needs to change. All right, guys. That's the final thought. I want less injuries. I want less leg injuries that don't need to happen. Shoulders, knees, rolled ankles, that's football. ACLs from running down the field should not happen. That's it. All right, guys, tomorrow morning we have the pick video. Be sure to be looking out for that. Appreciate you hanging out today. I know it's a little bit different, but I just kind of wanted to just talk about what's going on right now. Not nearly as much of a schedule thing. Just wanted to chat with you guys, and I appreciate you hanging out. Make sure to subscribe, like the video to help the algorithm go up. Be able to be on some of the other search engine areas when people search for different things related to football. It'll really help the channel out, and I appreciate it. Have an absolutely fantastic weekend. I will say that again tomorrow, but if you don't watch tomorrow's video until Sunday, Have a fantastic weekend. Until tomorrow, wings up, hawk out, football on. Later.